Amanda Rodman, Community Resource Officer, but she is ill, so filling in for her is...
Hello, I'm Lieutenant Ponch Severa. I'm the District 1 Administrative Lieutenant, and I am actually over the CROs and Sergeant Claiborne, and he was not able to make it. But I will be actually just kind of providing some of the information, and if you have any questions, try to answer that or at least get your response back. In relation to the first slide that you're seeing there, can I tap that? Got it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hang on 1 minute. Do it.
I think it's just us that see that.
Okay. Obviously, the only thing that might be concerning, and it's and just to explain part of that, you can see that there shows to be an 800% increase in aggravated assaults from last month to this month, from August to September. What that incident specifically, it occurred in the northern part of the Sloan's Lake area, in the area of Clare Gardens. There was an incident to where some shots, nobody was struck, nobody was injured, but there was some shots that were fired into an occupied structure where there were multiple people. So therefore, that actually attributes and accounts for every person in there, even though they were not struck. That actually elevates one charge for every person that was occupying that structure. So that is what's kind of driven our aggravated assaults up in this case, because we had one that had 5 people in it. So that's 5 additional counts, all stemming from that same incident. The incident's under investigation. Management's been very, very responsive, so we're working with them to deal with any other issues, and it's still currently under investigation, so I can't provide very much information on that, but luckily nobody was struck, and it is being looked into and handled by management. In relation to everything else, at least for crime trends here, looks pretty decent in comparison. Some of the trends that actually went down, I think even the theft of motor vehicles went down by half this month, in addition to criminal mischief that also I think went down by 2 separate offenses, 2 offenses that went down. And in relation to the Sloan's Lake, I think you also want to talk about West Colfax as well.
Okay. Right. And so you don't have those things there. Whoops, go back.
Oh, sorry. There we go.
Okay. And in relation to West Colfax, again, if you look at aggravated assaults, and just to be clear, aggravated assaults can be anything. If someone fires into an occupied structure or a vehicle, or if there is serious bodily injury or a weapon is used, that is classified as aggravated assault. So there's multiple categories that can actually fit within that. Also, if there is a unfortunate situation to where a domestic violence type situation occurs where there's either serious injury or weapon was used, that is also indicated in one category. It's not broken down by like involving details like, hey, it happened, shots fired in an occupied structure or domestic violence. So everything's kind of lumped together in that broad category. That's a NIBRS, a federal reporting requirement. Aggravated assaults there, we had 17. We were unfortunately busy, 17 incidents, and we went down to 6 incidents this month. So again, trending downward. We're going to do everything we can with our increased patrols and focus of proactive units in the area to address any other issues that we're having that as well. And we work very closely with Council District 3 as well as Council District 1. We have weekly meetings to collaborate on any other issues or concerns that the constituents of the community have as well. Other areas of concern here, obviously, larcenies, thefts, 19 went up to 31. That could be anything from shoplifting to package theft, so it's not delineated or broken down in this area here. And motor vehicle thefts, theft from motor vehicles that were higher last month in August trended downward, so went down from 35 theft of motor vehicles to 14. So that, yeah, obviously that's a significant decrease, as well as 25 to 12 in the motor vehicle theft. Again, some of the stuff that we've been trying to do is obviously trying to follow up more in-depth investigations to see if there's anyone that is potentially responsible for that. We're working with our DMAT, which are Denver Metro Auto Theft Task Force. They do a lot of follow-up and long-term work as well as proactive operations. In addition to, we have CMAT, which is basically the Colorado Metro Auto Theft Task Force. So there's a lot of collaboration, and luckily auto thefts have been trending downward in the metro area and specifically here in Denver as well, because of some of the great work and the partnerships that we've actually helped to build. So we're hoping we're going in the right direction, but unfortunately sometimes things creep up. So we'll be responsive as possible and try and deal with it. Trying to see anything else specifically here that might be a question, and if not, I'm able to take any questions that you have. Sir?
Between Salt Lake and West Colfax, there were 20 car thefts. What percentage of those are ever, do the people get it back, or they end up nowhere land, or? And if they come back, I'm sure they're probably slightly damaged from whatever they do to get it going.
Right. Oftentimes, we're fortunate that in the metro auto theft, I can't remember the actual stats, but I think it was close to about 85 to 90% recovery rate. Now, that doesn't guarantee I'm going to have it back to you in a day or that we'll be recovering it. Sometimes some cars have been gone for longer than several days, a week, a month, but they are ultimately recovered. Sometimes, unfortunately, depending on who was actually had it, what they were used in, whether involved in an accident, they can be damaged. So obviously, that's something that you would work with your insurance company if you have full coverage or comprehensive. And if someone is actually caught, and the victim can actually go and ask for restitution through the court if they're actually adjudicated through trial. Sometimes that's a very slow and very long process, as far as they might be paying you back in installments for a very long time, depending on their means.
It can be. I've also heard that cars can get contaminated in the interior if people use meth inside the
Yes,
car.
meth is,
and that would be hard to clean up.
right. Meth is something, and that's oftentimes something you're going to have to really work with your insurance company, or sometimes obviously try and kind of be persistent, because obviously we have a Denver methamphetamine protocol here in Denver. If we actually are basically come across a house that has been contaminated with meth, the DDPHE, Denver Health Department, the Public Health Environmental Services, they actually go in and they mandate testing for residences. And then it's up to the owner to actually have that abated and to make sure it's safe before someone goes back in and it's habitable, or it could be habitated again. So the cars, sometimes I've heard, I haven't dealt with it directly, that something that if you know that there's evidence of that, or the officers actually found evidence, I would probably recommend you go through our public records section there, try and get the reports, and then you might have to be very persistent with the actual insurance companies about that, for that reason, for safety reasons.
Okay. Alan, is there anything in the chat?
Nothing on the chat. I had a couple of questions for you, Lieutenant.
Sir.
I've heard the mayor is planning on staffing up the DPD as a whole. Do you have any insights on when that might eventually hit District 1 in terms of more officers? And what do you, in your opinion, what are the practical implications of that for residents?
Did you cut off? Sorry.
Sorry. I was saying, I heard the mayor is, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you. You cut out for a minute.
Sorry about that. I was saying I've heard the mayor is going to staff up DPD. Do you have any idea of when you think that might hit District 1 and practically, and what are the practical implications for day-to-day residents?
Well, obviously, what we've been doing everything. One of the priorities for Chief Thomas has been to increase our response times, to do better. And obviously we can do better, and we're doing everything we can to for that end. Obviously, staffing is a big concern. Currently, there are 25 officers in the academy, and there's another academy that just started. And one is with, I think, 52, 54, don't quote me exactly, is in and scheduled to get out in December. Yes, the mayor's office has made it a priority, as well as Chief Thomas, to actually try and hire more. I think they've committed to 167 additional officers to try and bump up our staffing. However, the academies typically run about 6 to 7 months. Then there's another roughly about 4 to 5 month training program, assuming that the officers might not be struggling. So we might extend that a little bit. So effectively, from the time of hire, and I'm giving you a rough estimate, it's probably about 11 months before they actually hit the street on their own. Obviously, every person that we get is just another way of actually us being able to be more responsive, be able to actually increase more patrols, to be more visible, as well as not have people wait when they call the police, whether it's for an accident or something that's going on. So that is a big priority for us. And I think the entire administration and the city as a whole. And right now it seems like we're on the right track. I think they've tried some innovative new campaigns to try and actually recruit other officers. Sometimes it's not as attractive as a field as it might have been in the past, but there's definitely a need, and it's a calling. So we're trying to make sure that we get our share of quality candidates that are going to serve the communities.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And last question, you might not be as familiar since you're not in the day-to-day as much, perhaps, but are you familiar with any more details on the shooting at 21st and Newton? Or maybe Tom, you might have heard more details on that as well.
Have not heard anything, and that's where I live.
21st in Newton?
Mhm.
I don't. I oversee the investigative unit, but I'm not going to be disingenuous and tell you that I know everything about every single crime that happens in District 1. It's sometimes can be a little overwhelming at times, but I can follow up based on that, and I can get back to you. That's not a problem. Obviously, we can share what it might be available, but we won't jeopardize the investigation by putting too much on us.
Sure. Thank you so much. And I don't see any questions in chat here, unless anyone would like to raise their hand.
I have one that it's kind of more of a curiosity question. I'm wondering with, you said there's going to be more recruits in your department, but in the meantime, are officers having to pick and choose what they say pull people over for? That would be an example. So minor infractions like maybe a tail light out or expired license plates, that kind of thing. Is that something that they're just sort of overlooking?
I wouldn't say overlooking, but everything comes at a cost. For every reaction, there's an equal reaction. If I pull somebody over while I'm going to somebody's call for assistance at a house, then that gets delayed, and that we're not really doing well with public service. I know it's been a priority, and again, I don't want to speak for the chief, but I know it's been a priority to try and staff our traffic enforcement bureau that is specifically basically deals with traffic enforcement throughout the entire city. But unfortunately, everybody's feeling that staffing crunch, and some resources have had to actually be reshuffled other places. So I can't say it's not a priority, but at the same point, I'd rather respond to someone that's getting a life safety type situation than I'm going to pull somebody over as much as they probably need to be pulled over and reminded or ticketed if they're in violation, especially if it's gone over a significant amount of time. It's like, yeah, you need to comply, you need to get your plates or whatever the case is. So I know it is a focus for us. I know we've had several concerns about that from the community, but it's also a focus to get there timely if somebody's trying to break into a house or breaking into a
Sure.
car or stuff like that. So,
Yep, makes sense. Thank you.
so thank you very much.
Sure.
Any other questions? Great. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you for being part of this partnership. And
When's the next CAG?
Next CAG, we have community advisory group the third Wednesday of every month. We have it in District 1. November 15th, we're going to have our bigger event that the Chief Thomas will be there, as well as we have a new, I don't know if you're aware, I believe a lot of people are. Commander DeStefani retired back in July. We have interim commander Eddie Ledger. He's been on for quite a while, I think since 1990. He and I worked together in robberies. He was my sergeant then. He stepped in the interim capacity. He will be sworn in, officially promoted to commander, and on this Friday coming up, I believe the 20th. But our CAG, so he will be hosting the CAG meetings the third Wednesday of every month. We have one this month, and then November 15th, I think is the actual date, third Wednesday. We are holding it, and we'll be putting it out and messaging accordingly. We're going to be having it at Regis University. Obviously, we try and do two bigger ones with CCPC. It's basically crime coalition prevention, community coalition crime prevention, and basically it's something like we rely on everyone to give us a heads up and let us know what's going on. Obviously, we can't be everywhere, and sometimes we can't action that right then and there, but it's all basically we all have a part in it, and the community is a big part in it, in making us aware of the concerns so we can address them accordingly if we're not already aware or dealing with it. So that would be a very good meeting. You're going to have Chief Thomas there, some of the other leadership in our agency, as well as obviously our leadership here at District 1 with Commander Ledger and the new lieutenants that are coming in as far as that. Unfortunately, I apologize. I'm moving assignments. So after 2 weeks, I was currently the administrative lieutenant over the CRO's investigation, but I'm going to a different assignment. So unfortunately, you won't be seeing me anymore. And it's kind of sad for me because I started in District 1 back in 1996 when I first came on, and I came back as lieutenant. So this is always home, but we go where we're needed. And unfortunately, you're in good hands. I can assure you that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
Thank you
It-
so much.
Thank you very much. And sir, I'll follow up with you on that 21st and you can get
Right.
that. Okay, I'll
All
get a
right.
number for you offline if you don't mind. So-
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
I
time.
really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hope to see you around.
Yes.
You will.
Okay, the next, on the agenda. Is Council District 1, Alessandro Dominguez. And welcome to the meeting.
Hi, sorry, I had to unmute myself. How are you all doing?
Right.
Wonderful.
Good.
Great. How do I? Okay. There we go. All right. Okay, so as you guys know, office staff, there's me, Alessandra, Gina, she does constituent services, Melissa, land use and policy, and Andrew, he does communications and social media. As Lieutenant Cervera was mentioning, Commander Citizens Advisory Group, otherwise known as CAG. They meet every third Wednesday of every month. I did check, that is the 15th of November. That's the one he was talking about. If you would like more details on that, you can email Technician Grodman or Technician Campbell. You can attend it virtually over Teams or in person. Parks and Rec Advisory Board. So they actually just had a meeting today. So the next meeting will be next month. It's the second Wednesday of every month at 5:30. That is held online at Zoom. You can register for the meeting using this link down here. Before the meeting, so at 5 o'clock, you can actually sign up to chat one-on-one with your PRAB representative. And that's a great place to go if you have any ideas or suggestions about parks in your area. The Department of Transportation and Infrastructure has an advisory board, and they meet every second Tuesday of every month at 4 p.m. I believe Alan had chimed in last time and said that they have a Spanish translation available now, interpretation.
Yep.
So that is super great. And then yeah, you can sign up for that at this this website. Just include your name, email address, and what you would like to talk about. So October virtual office hours, our next set is Friday, October 27th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. I believe there are 3 slots left as of today. Those are held over Zoom. We will have office hours in November as well. Those will be published in the November newsletter. And I will, of course, also present those to you all at the November Sloan's Lake Citizens Group meeting. Here are some general context for Northwest Denver. So if you notice anything in a park, anything wrong with the porta potty or the water fountain, you can actually email park rangers right here at park.ranger@denvergov.org. You can also report that to 311, the non-emergency safety line. We have a link to the Parks and Recreation permitting, not as popular now as we're moving into fall and winter, but should you want to get a permit for anything through Parks and Rec, you can get that there. I also have included a link for the city council meetings and committee meetings here. And if you need to report anything at 311 after 7 p.m. or on the weekend, you can do so at this website. So you don't have to necessarily call in. You can also access it during the day if you don't have time to call in and wait on hold for 15 minutes. We have zero fare for youth. So RTD launched this program. If you are 19 years old or younger, you can use the public transport for free until August 31st of 2024. You just need your school or government ID. There's also a list of other IDs that they will accept if you do not have those. the Parks Legacy 5-year plan. So that was established the first time around in 2019. As we're moving into 2024, we're looking to establish a new 5-year plan. So beginning this last month in September, Denver Parks and Rec has been creating that new 5-year plan. You can take a survey if you click on this button here to give feedback about what you'd like to see in the parks. We have free flag football. Volo Kids is hosting this program at Aslan Rec Center for kids ages 5 to 13. Last time I checked, which was yesterday, this link down here is still open and available. So even though they began playing on September 30th, you are still able to register. We also have a free after school meals for youth program. So kids ages 3 to 18 can get free food at different sites across the city. If you use this link here, you can find those locations and the menu. And that program is going to run through May 24th. You do not need an ID of any kind to access this program. Residential rental license. So landlords of single unit rental properties have until January 1st of 2024 to apply for a residential rental property license. They're offering virtual and in-person meetings, as well as 2 free in-person question and answer sessions. So for the virtual meetings, if you click on this link up here, you can sign up for a 15 or 30-minute slot on Teams. That's going to be Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 12:45 p.m. If you would like to go in person, they're doing that at the Web Building. That's 201 West Colfax Avenue from 8 a.m. till 3 p.m. Monday through Friday. And then those 2 free in-person question and answer sessions will be Tuesday, November 14th and Tuesday, December 12th from 1 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. at the Sam Gary Branch Library. If you have more than 1 unit, you must have applied for or received a residential rental property license. If you need more information or you need to submit an application, you can click on this link. The state of emergency on homelessness. So as all of you know, the mayor did engage in those town halls across the city. They have a goal of housing 1,000 people. If you click on this link, you can see the map of the prospective micro community locations. That list is still being finalized. This is the most current list I have. You can also read the emergency homelessness report if you click on this link, or you can go to the dashboard of House 1000 at this link. City Council sent a list of priorities to Mayor Johnston on August 22nd. If you would like to see the September budget hearings, or you would like to download the presentations that Council received, you can do so at this link. There were budget workshops held for Council on October 5th and 6th. The next step is a public hearing on Monday, October 23rd during that 5:30 meeting. And you can sign up to speak in person or on Zoom. And you can sign up using that link there. Migrant support at Richard T. Castro Human Services Center. So I believe the last time I checked, we have about 3,000 migrants that have come into the city recently, and I believe that has eclipsed and surpassed our peak during the summer. So there is a high need. It's a really big crisis at the moment. Donations are being accepted Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 3:30 at 1200 Federal Boulevard. Requested items do include undergarments and socks. I would imagine coats and sweaters might be a good item to donate this time of year, seeing as most of the people in need are coming from south of the border. I'm not sure how much access they have to those heavier jackets that we use during the winter time. If you choose to drop off those items, you can do so at the garage doors, not the main entrance. And if you would like more details, you can visit the Migrant Support website. We are hosting a Dia de los Muertos celebration at La Raza Park on Wednesday, November 1st of this year. It is a free community event. You can register to set up an ofrenda or an altar if you use this link. And this day is meant to celebrate and honor loved ones that have passed. It's a really nice community event, and I definitely recommend going. It's a nice cultural celebration. Sidewalk Ordinance 307. So that was, as you know, a citizen initiated ordinance. It did pass with 55.85%. And that means that all the responsibility for sidewalks goes from the individuals to the city. So right now there's an annual property fee that is based on the linear footage of the sidewalk. And Dottie plans to implement that to the stormwater bill. It requires the development of a sidewalk master plan in which all sidewalks must be fixed, brought to ADA code, and new sidewalks added within 9 years. Councilwoman Sandoval actually proposed an amendment to that, and it was passed on October 2nd, 2023. It delayed the effective date from January of 2024 to July of 2024. So she had it pushed back 6 months. And that was to respond to the concerns regarding that fee structure. So as I mentioned in that slide, right now it's based on that linear footage. There is a sidewalk task force that meets every 2 weeks. I actually go to the meetings. I just listen in and take notes. And they are trying to figure out a better way to administer this fee to make it more equitable for everyone that's going to be affected by that. And it also avoids Tabor concerns by delaying the creation of enterprise funds. Some Halloween items. So there's going to be a Boo Bash at Aslan Rec Center. That's going to be Saturday, October 21st from 1 to 4 p.m. You can go trick-or-treating with groups like Volo Sports between 1 and 2. Afterwards, they're going to screen Hotel Transylvania. Tennyson Fall Fest, you can walk down Tennyson Street. They're going to have a pet parade, food trucks, shopping, live music. That'll be Saturday, October 28th from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And if you visit this Facebook page, there's more information on that. There's also a Honeyween parade put on by the Honey RNO. So you can watch a parade that starts at the Gardens of St. Elizabeth on Saturday, October 28th at 9:30 a.m. That parade will go all the way down to Recess Beer Garden. They're going to be playing football on the TVs. There's going to be games, food. I think I saw that there's going to be face painting. And if you'd like more information, you can go to Honey's website here. Then lastly, we have the Harvest Trick or Treat Street. That's going to be at the Highland Square on Sunday, October 29th from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. And you can participate in a costume contest. They're going to have a pumpkin patch, a jumpy house, a beer garden, more trick-or-treating. And if you would like more details, you can visit the Highlands website as well. Here are all the ways that you can get in contact with us. So there's email, district1@denvergov.org. You can call us at 720-337-7701. Visit Councilwoman Sandoval's page at denvergov.org/district1. And you can also sign up for those office hours I mentioned earlier, as well as signing up for our newsletter. Again, our website, denvergov.org/district1. You can find her on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And does anybody have any questions?
You know who the District 1 Denver Parks Committee representative is?
You wanted to know who the District 1 Parks representative, who it is.
Sure. So that is going to be Jill Mullen and Florence Navarro. And if you actually go to PRAB Denver, if you just look that up, it'll take you right to that website and you can see everyone involved on that PRAB board as well as their email addresses.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's very
Thanks,
informative.
Alan, for that. Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
Thanks, Alessandra. One quick comment, the 5-year plan for Parks and Rec looks like that survey is closed, so folks
Okay.
can no longer take it. But number 2, just want to thank Alessandra for organizing an amazing night at Zunai Park a few weeks ago. It was lovely. Our kids went and had a blast, and it was so much fun. So thank you, Alessandra, for having such a great community event for everyone.
Oh, great. Thank you, Alan. I'm glad your family had so much fun. It was a really good time.
I think that was a movie.
Yeah, that was a movie.
$10 or something.
Okay, the next Presenter is Ein Slavas from Council District 3. And I see her right in the middle of the Hollywood squares.
Hi, everyone. How are y'all? All right. I won't repeat some things that Alessandra already covered. I did want to just go back to the budget for the proposals. I just wanted to let y'all know some of the proposals that Council President Torres proposed and sponsored. And the budget letter will be a long list of everything that made it into the proposal that got 7 or more council votes. So she definitely supported other proposals, but these are the ones she sponsored. An increased funding for participatory budgeting, funding for the Denver Basic Income Project, additional funding for Denver Health, restoring the fresh food contract between Denver Human Services and Denver Botanic Gardens, so bringing fresh food to West Denver, microtransit inclusion of Valverde neighborhood, and then funding to create the Office of Community Engagement. And just so you know, a lot of council members collaborated and co-sponsored those. And then Tom, I apologize. I wasn't able to respond to your email. I'm at the Housing Colorado conference in Keystone, so I'm kind of multitasking here. You asked about a property by Brooklands. And I was trying to look at our site development map, and I just wanted to share this with y'all. This site development map is where you can see any site developments that have been submitted to the city. And I didn't know the exact address, if you had that exact address, so I could look that up on this map and then potentially look into the permitting for you.
I'll check it out, but you know, it's a massive thing, and by location there, I would think it's probably residential.
Okay, yeah, this would show residential developments as well. It shows kind of anything, either it's under review or it's recorded plan. And I was kind of looking at it to see what I could see.
I think it's up about 2 stories in concrete right now.
And do you know, so there's a multifamily that's already recorded that's going up on 2506 West Colfax. And then there's also, there's Brooklyn Special Events, but I don't see anything under review. There's also the Ultra Mile High there as well. But if you want to get back to me on the exact address, I could kind of look into the permits as well.
Because I was wondering if it was DHA. Hopefully it isn't, because all the other new big apartments are so expensive
Yeah.
that most people can't afford them.
Yeah. Bear in mind,
let's put it this way: teachers, first-year firemen, first-year policemen have a tough time.
Yeah. Yeah. And bear in mind the affordable housing that Denver passed, expanding housing affordability, that if there is over 10 units, a portion has to be affordable housing. But they passed that in 2021. So there is a, you know, kind of a folks that got in before that are building, but any future developments that are big developments have to have some affordable housing. But let me know if you see it on that map. And if you don't, I'm happy to look into that for you as well. You also asked about the Zuni plant. Council President Torres, the update on that is Council President Torres sent a email to the PUC requesting that they try to preserve it and save the plant. We're still kind of waiting on that and tracking that. It's kind of a slow going process for that. And then, and she's also looking into large developments and how they are powering that development. So looking into how affordable housing has kind of taken a hit in terms of what they need to supply for Excel. So we're looking at kind of correlating that to the other large developments in West Denver, and how we can kind of make them responsible for powering those large developments, as well as how do we help affordable housing developments with those utility costs. So that's something that's in the works as well, along those lines. And then lastly, a bit of good news for y'all. We helped Kaiser, we supported Kaiser in a federal tree grant. And it's bringing 5 million. They asked, I believe the grant they asked for 5.6 million, and they were granted 5 million to bring tree canopy and green space to Denver. And that's coming to areas in Denver with less tree canopy than the rest of the city. So that's GES, Chaffee Park, Sunnyside, Highlands, West Colfax, Villa Park, Barnum, Valverde, and Sun Valley. So stay tuned. Yeah, it's good news. Little good news for us. So stay tuned. I will plug that it's been getting a lot of press, but we're really happy to support that. Because it'll really be good for the whole district. Let's see. And that's really all I have for y'all. Do y'all have questions for me?
Alan, is there anything in the chat?
Nothing in the chat.
Oh, between Council 1 and Council 3, we got a lot of information tonight. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And feel free to email me if you have questions or need anything before the meeting. Tom, it's really helpful to hear from you and see what you need and what you're requesting, so I can kind of follow up before the meeting and give you all updates. But feel free to email me anytime.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Oh, and have a happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. See y'all next month.
Please notice my outfit.
Are you dressed up? I don't see your costume. I see.
yeah.
Well, maybe you're dressed up as an invisible man because I'm just looking at a chair. Okay. Oh, I can't believe you had us looking at an empty chair and you're all dressed up.
All right. Thank you very much. The next speaker tonight is Craig Arfson, who is with Citizens for a Safe and Clean Denver.
Awesome. Thank you very much. There we go. I'll adjust it here on the side. Yes, my name is Craig Arfson, and I'm one of the founders of Citizens for a Safe and Clean Denver. And it's a non-political group. It's we're concerned about the future of Denver when it comes to crime, encampments, and open use of meth and fentanyl. And we're, like I said, just a group of residents and small business owners, and just concerned with the direction we see the city going in these directions. So we started about 2.5 years ago, and I tell you, it's been like drinking from a fire hose, trying to understand all of the different city departments and what programs they have there, who are all the key players, and so forth. And so in those 2.5 years, we've learned a lot, and the different groups we've talked to. Just to give you an example, the previous administration, new administration is different than the Hancock administration. So we're very involved with the previous administration, and would have regular meetings with the mayor's staff, and so that kept us informed. We follow what the Colorado Coalition for the Homeless does and the different nonprofits. So I'd say this, this time, 2.5 years later, we're very informed about what's going on in the city on those topics. And as everybody knows, the mayor's #1 topic is homelessness. And I think that's also probably one of the top 3 across the country. And so that's an area we're very focused on. When it comes to crime, believe it or not, probably back in 2018, Denver was pretty average when it came to crime. In other words, when you compare where Denver stood relative to other parts of the country, when it comes to car theft, property thefts, things like that, we're about average. And then around 2018, Denver moved from average to the top 5. And so that was a pretty drastic change. And a lot of it was state legislative driven. Just driving around the Sloan, this neighborhood here, it doesn't look like there's many encampments around here. I don't know if that's true or not, but it doesn't seem like it's compared. Colfax, it's yeah. But As far as in the community here, it doesn't look that bad. Now, you go to other parts of the city and it's a lot worse. Downtown is pretty bad these days. So anyway, the homeless situation in Denver is the mayor's number 1 priority, and that's also the number 1 priority across the country. We understand that situation pretty well. I'd love to kind of be if you have questions about that, I'll kind of go into a little bit as far as what we see as the situation. I'd encourage you to ask me questions to kind of better understand what's going on, because it's a very complicated issue. So yes, go ahead.
I have one.
Absolutely, thanks.
So you mentioned,
Identify yourself.
oh, I'm dead. I'm wondering, you said you're informed,
Yeah.
and what do you do with the information?
Yeah.
That you have?
Okay, so we have a website out there. It's called safeandcleandenver.com, and it provides so we educate and inform residents. And I would say the how most of us got started, and it was a kind of a core group of 5, and it's grown significantly since then. But we would call our city council person, and we would not get a satisfactory answer. We would call the police and not get a satisfactory answer. And there was a lot of finger pointing. In other words, the city council person would say, you need to talk to the police. You talk to the police and they say it's a district, it's a district attorney problem. We're not, that's the cause of the problem. We'd go back to city council and they'd say, well, city council can't do anything because it's a strong mayor's city. And so we pretty much just got the runaround. And these are significant concerns that we had. If you go downtown, there's open drug use. Go down South Broadway, it's pretty prevalent. You probably see the same thing on Colfax. And then you see the encampments in front of businesses and in front of houses on tree lawns and so forth. And it just seems like no one was interested in doing anything about it. And so I would say the reason that we got involved is that it was pretty clear that Denver residents and small business owners did not have a voice at the table. A lot of other organizations out there had a voice at the table, and what was missing were residents and small business owners. And that even carried over to the new administration. When the new administration came in, and he had his 28 transition teams, and 2 of them were specific to homelessness. Each of those teams, I'm going back and just from memory, but they were made up of about 15 people. And if you look at who these people were, they were either consultants, they were either associated with nonprofits, they were either there was one person on there with lived experience who later resigned from the committee. And so there were no business owners or residents on the homeless committees, and that's just not right. And because those problems impact residents and small business owners as much as anybody else, and so that was missing from it. So I would say our primary goal is to educate and inform, to let residents know that they have a voice and help amplify that voice. And so that's what we've done. And so it's an uphill battle, because it's a very complicated issue, and it's just, how do you get the word out there? And so I would say educate and inform is our primary goal, and to network within the city and different organizations and help residents when they have an encampment in front of their house, to help advocate for them and help them move along. And since we started, we're also one of the co-founding members of a group called North America Recovers, and that's led by Michael Schellenberger. And I don't know if you know Michael Schellenberger, but he wrote the book San Francisco. And he also wrote a book, a bestseller on the environment. So Him and Tom Wolf were the leads of this organization called North America Recovers. And their focus and our focus and our focus in Denver here also is recovery. In other words, shelter, treatment, recovery, and then housing. And in Denver today, the philosophy that's guiding all of the activity in Denver when it comes to homelessness is a policy called housing first and harm reduction. And what that means is that the goal is to put a roof over someone's head and then provide wraparound services. The truth of it is that it's not a recovery focused program. It's just a housing program. And the harm reduction is that's also not a recovery program. That's just it started out as a response to AIDS and things like that, and needles and needle exchanges and so forth. But once again, that's not necessarily a recovery focused effort. So I can kind of give you some background, some things that might encourage or spark some questions to kind of as we get started. Let me do that a little bit, give you kind of an idea of what is out there. The reality situation is the people out there on the streets living in the encampments, on the mayor's own words, he thinks 65% of those individuals are struggling with addiction and mental illness. Cole Chandler, who is his person in charge of homelessness, Cole puts that number at 75%. Mike down in the Dream Center puts that number at 90%. And so the industry accepted number for addiction, people living on the street is probably around 85 to 90% is what that number is. The mayor's push is to his what is it? I always get confused, House 1000 or 1000 House, one of those two. And so that's he's implementing that right now. And basically his goal is to have 1,000 individuals housed by the holidays. And this solution to that is, hotels like the Best Western on Quebec is the first one. And then within communities to have pallet homes within the communities. The first move to the hotels was his goal is to basically move these individuals as communities and to keep the number at a reasonable number and to basically house them and then provide wraparound services for those individuals is the plan. That's great, but there's some flaws in that, and the goal of that is not necessarily recovery. It kind of stops short of that a little bit. So I kind of just open up for questions and answers. Questions if anybody has questions about what they see, kind of if you have a question, if you always wondered something about how things are handled out there or things like that, I can talk for hours about this, and I'd rather have it focus on questions.
Alan, is there anything in the chat?
No questions in the chat.
I heard something on the news today that they were going to 38th and Colorado Boulevard, and then decided not at the request of the city council person over there, they decided not to sweep that and instead provide porta potties.
Okay.
So do you know any more about that, why they made that decision?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's instead of 38th, I believe that's probably 48th in Colorado.
48, okay.
And that is where you have the Denver Rescue Mission shelter out there.
Oh.
And you have Samaritan House or the Catholic Charities out there.
Oh.
And so you have, two large shelters out there already. And what they've done is this has been the business owners out there have dealt with this problem quite a bit. In other words, because I've spoken to several of the business owners out there, they'll come to work in the morning and I mean, and they will have to walk over addicts on their doorstep. They'll have people that defecated on their stairs to their business. They'll have people camping around their businesses. What the situation looks like today is that, you know, there are longer blocks out there. It's more of an industrial area is what it is. So like city block wise, I'd probably put it at maybe 4 or 5 blocks there. And it's just packed with tents right now. And the city has put up large orange traffic cones, not the small ones, but they look like the size of barrels. And they've lined the whole street there. It's a wider street because it's industrial for trucks and things like that. And they've done that to keep the encampment or to keep those individuals from walking out in the street. They basically have a promenade that runs down there. There's open drug use there. I talked to people in the shelter there. And I mean, there's definitely open drug use. There's definitely drug dealing out there. And the city's been asking, or the business owners out there have been asking that it be cleaned up. Now, the mayor's approach to that is that he has put a moratorium. He really has put a moratorium on large encampment cleanups. And there's only been 4 cleanups since he's taken office. And this one was scheduled for December 1st, and now it's been put off, I don't know, probably indefinitely. And so okay. And so anyway, you know, if you were to go downtown now around Denver Rescue Mission, Samaritan House, these others, it seems like a lot of the encampments have kind of moved into the city core, and they're just allowed to stay there. Now, the only times they've been moved, and they've been big encampments, once they were moved for rats, another time they were removed for a shooting. 2 homeless people were shot by another homeless person, or probably, from what I heard, probably it was some sort of drug situation. They cleared that encampment up. They cleared up the one at, I think it was 8th and Logan, to move them to the Best Western. 83 people went from there to the Best Western. And then they cleaned up around the Crossroads shelter. Basically, the Crossroads shelter is run by Salvation Army down in the Rhino area along the Platte. And those encampments completely circled that. There was a lot there, and they were just around the lot inside a cyclone fence. It's pretty, I mean, if you've never been to one of these encampments, it's eye-opening what you see, and it's not humane to leave them on the street. And like I said, at least 90% are addicted to methamphetamine. And what really needs to happen is these individuals do not need to be enabled. You need to figure out how to get them into recovery. And there are models that are successful. People say that there are no solutions. There absolutely are solutions, and there's solutions in our backyard. Step Denver is a phenomenal program. It's not scalable, and I'll explain what that means in a minute. But
well,
yeah,
we're gonna run out of time.
Yeah, okay.
I think we got time for one more question online. It looks like Pete has his hand up here.
Yeah, I think you're just starting to get into it, but you know, it sounds like you're not a fan of housing first, you know, and so maybe at just a high level, like what does this group view as solutions? You know, because these individuals need to go somewhere. I assume you're not proposing just jail them all indefinitely.
Absolutely, no, right. Yeah. No,
So
I think that's
what is in your mind the solution?
Yeah, no, I think that is the question, and that's the glaring thing that's being overlooked right now in what the city's doing. Like I started to say, there are solutions in our backyard, and let me kind of go through that, but then I'll get to what I think the real solution is. In our backyard, we have an organization downtown, Step Denver. Okay. Step Denver, they do not take any money, so they don't have any certain requirements to allow harm reduction to show up at their site. They're fully independent of any kind of funding. It's all self-funded. They house 65 men there. You have to be committed to being sober to be there, and And it's a residential program, and every night there's 10 beds available. And at the end of about a year, if you've gone through a program, and they've got the data, the statistics, and everything like that, how successful it is. It doesn't cost very much money. I think it's around $5,000 to basically support and run this per person. They leave there sober with $6,000 typically in their pocket because they've worked that time and the money's been saved. They move into a residential house with fellow people in recovery, and there's a support and mentorship, and it's a very successful program. In Alberta, Canada, like we said, we're part of North America Recovers. Okay. And they have up in Alberta, Canada, they have a program that's called Recovery Communities, and they house anywhere from 65 to 125 people. You can be a woman, you can be a man, you can have mental illness, and they take all three of them. It's a residential program, very similar to STEP Denver. And once again, they have a very successful program and with quantifiable results. What's shocking with what's out there now, this is the #1 problem in the country. Data is absolutely not existent on this topic. And if you're serious about solving this problem, how can you do it without data? And so on. So like I said, if the discussion needs to focus on addiction and mental illness, 90% of the people on the street, that's the problem. And yet it's not being talked about by the mayor. It's not being talked about by Housing First. It's not being talked about by harm reduction.
But it is. Wow.
But it is by Safe and Clean Denver.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate having the opportunity to talk to you.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Alan, I emailed you that little thing about the development of 1409 to 1471. Whoops, that's later.
Let me pull that up real quick. Give me a second, Tom.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't have it in the PowerPoint.
I didn't know how to interface it into the slideshow.
Here we go.
Okay, so Wazi Partners and the Pockner Group are redoing, asking for a rezoning on 1409 to 1471 Julian. They have spoken to us before. It's a group of townhouses that are probably late 60s, mid 60s, and they want to increase the density on the property based on if they're able to get the rezoning that would allow them to go more than current, like 2 stories. And you'll see one of the later slides will be what it goes into and matches with what is in the West Area Plan, which is part of that. But they want to go to 5, basically, they're not sure which GMU5, GMS5, GRX5, or CMX5. So they're all 5-story building types. They haven't, until they get the zoning, they really are not able to tell us how many units they're going to put on the property. They need to get this approved through the city. I think the next slide, they're talking about a timeline. Yeah. So they are in the, let's see, 4 to 6. I think they're at the first.
When you went to public hearing.
Yeah, the 5, number 5 there.
But they don't have a date, do they?
She said they didn't have a date yet, but so what they're just wanting to do is to refresh our memory. They made a presentation maybe 3 months ago, and it's all of these rezoning seem to take an awful lot of time.
Are we in contact with the people that live in that area and asking them to participate?
You did get.
That's the same
when
one you flyered.
Flyered. So when they have a public meeting,
Yeah.
when they have a date for that, they probably need to be informed.
We do have a question online from Keith as well.
Yeah, was this the property that, I feel like somebody pointed this out, that was there affordable housing units on this property? And now they're planning to not have affordable housing units on this?
Keith, they're gonna maintain the number of, as a minimum, the number of affordable housing units that are currently there. But they also have the requirement of at least 10% of all the units. So if they go a big enough building, they will be required to have additional units to make meet the 10%. So it's a left or right. We don't know how many units they're proposing at this time.
I seem
Okay.
to remember too, Keith, that they had a pathway to let the current residents come back into the new building, if memory serves me correctly from that last
Okay,
presentation.
I just feel like somebody pointed this out at the meeting, that they've basically been subsidized for having this property for quite a long time, and if they're not gonna have affordable housing units in there, or they're, if there's gonna be a significant change, then basically the taxpayers have subsidized this owner to, for the last however many years, that affordable housing units have been in that property, and now, won't be as available with whatever their plans are, which I thought was an interesting point, to kind of think about, as these plans go forward. But if they're gonna increase, if they are gonna be able to increase affordable housing units in there, that sounds great too.
Right. So the next. Oh, we missed it. So update, yeah, I did jump. I'm sorry. Can you go back to slides 7, 8, 9, and 10, Alan? I jumped ahead.
Of are you talking
Okay,
affordable housing?
yeah, that was
Energy.
right. So, no, back to the Excel. Okay, that one right there. Can you find the cursor? There's a little yellow square on the map that is a regulator.
Yeah.
Okay, that has currently been completed. And across the street, there's the natural gas regulator station, and it's on the west side of Sheridan, just north of the light rail station. And then the next picture on the right there shows a stockpile of additional gas piping. And if you go back to the map, you can see that it's going to go north to 16th, but it'll be on the Lakewood or Edgewater side. But then they'll follow along the tracks, the light rail tracks, and go up. See, Zenobia, what's the Yates?
Yeah.
Up Yates to Colfax, and that has not been constructed yet. So jump to the next slide, the one after that. And at the time that we had the presentation by Excel, it was implied that it was going to be paid for by Excel customers, but apparently they had gotten some money from the bipartisan infrastructure plan. And so I guess instead of taking money out of our left pocket, it'll be out of our right pockets. But it is nice to see some of this infrastructure, except there was some discussion if we're phasing out natural gas, why are they putting in all of this piping?
Okay.
But they said in the meantime, all these big multi-unit projects are being built and they need gas to power it. So, but anyway, since she spoke to us before they got busy and built some stuff. Okay, let's see, after that, okay, the Sloan's Lake Park, the tennis courts have been completed. They aren't quite open yet. There's a padlock on the door, the gate, but I went by this morning and they are very colorful. I was kind of surprised, but I guess, what's that, Boise State has the blue turf, so maybe, but it's been a long time. When they started doing the work on it earlier, they discovered that the coating on top contained asbestos and they needed to do asbestos abatement. And that added easily a year to the project, but tennis will be back soon.
And no asbestos
Okay.
in these courts.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
And hopefully they didn't. Okay, on Saturday, we're planning our 11th annual Veterans Day Pancake Breakfast at Del Norte Veterans Apartments on Saturday, November 18th. And slides 13 and 14 show last year's pancake breakfast. And there's Jennifer Gualteri, our secretary, and her grandson who's flipping pancakes. And it's well attended, and the people there really do appreciate us remembering them as a service that they've given to our country. Many of the people there have disabilities that they got in service. And all of the people that live there were formerly homeless, so this is their step from homelessness to permanent housing.
Pancakes.
And pancakes. As you can see, plain pancakes and blueberry pancakes. There you go. So Alan, discussion of the Denver sidewalk. There you go.
Yeah, I think it was Deb asked me just to update everybody. I think Alessandra covered it nicely before, but as you guys know, sidewalk ordinance 307 passed last year, largely drawn out because about 10% of Denver sidewalks are missing, 30% are too narrow for wheelchairs, walkers, strollers, etc. As Alessandra mentioned, it charges a fee based on linear square footage of sidewalk frontage and street type. By the way, this is in Sloan's Lake here. This is over by Sheridan, just north of Colfax. As you guys probably know, this horrible place, there's no sidewalk at all. This is over by Clare Gardens area, 26 and Perry-ish. You can see the sidewalk is not standard size for wheelchairs, and there's several telephone poles blocking it. There's no ADA ramps. It's horrendous for residents that have wheelchairs. But as Alessandra mentioned, it has been delayed to start fee collection until July of 2023. Dottie formed a committee to look at improvements that can be made to the ordinance to make it more equitable. I happen to be on that committee as part of the Dottie Advisory Board. It's made up of both proponents and folks that have concerns about it. Councilman Flynn, Councilman Cashman are both on it as well. As mentioned, and this is over by Sloan's Lake Park on the other side of 26th Avenue, where we don't have a sidewalk there. Concerns we've heard about the current ordinance. Corner lots paying a larger fee. In some cases, there's some really strange places down in southwestern Denver where there's this lot that has sidewalks on all three sides, and it's like a $1,200 fee a year kind of thing. So committee is looking at potential ideas to make it more equitable. So there's not these, weird outliers that are paying a significant amount of money on that. There's concerns for fixed income residents. Originally, the idea was that there'd be a discount for folks living in nest neighborhoods or equity neighborhoods. There's consideration about, hey, you know, can we look at something similar to the trash program where there's a discount based on income, not where you live in an equity neighborhood, but just anybody. So these are all things that are on the table being discussed right now. And then concerns with people that have recently paid to have their sidewalk redone. Concerns with people on, you know, residential arterial streets that are paying more when they might have similar sidewalks to folks on other side streets. So I just wanted to see from this group if there's any other concerns that haven't been brought up yet on the list that we should think about as we're, you know, looking to improve the ordinance.
Well, living on a corner lot, I could see it could be pricey, but sidewalks are very important. If you remember our neighbor who was quadriplegic in the electric wheelchair, power wheelchair, there was a whole lot of just on his block that he couldn't do because their sidewalk had heaved like 3 inches. So
yeah, Gary
Yeah,
had to go in the
that's-
street because A, in the wintertime, people didn't shovel their sidewalks, and B, there were so many bumps on them that it was inaccessible for him in his chair, which is, you know, part of the ordinance, as you said, Tom, is to repave, repair the sidewalks so they are accessible for residents with strollers, walkers, wheelchairs, to make it, yeah, I think it is important too. Keith, you had a question?
Well, just a comment, just, you know, I know I've talked to you about this individually, Alan, and I wasn't able to make it to the meeting yesterday, but I'll just use this as a platform, kind of practice my pitch, which is just to let everybody know that, you know, concrete's the 3rd largest producer of carbon gases in the world. And, you know, I'm on the Sustainable Advisory Council for the city, and we just passed a recommendation out of our committee that's going to go to the entire Sustainable Advisory Council that Dottie look at using low carbon concrete and also recording or starting to record in these sidewalk installations the amount of carbon that's produced in the concrete that's being used. And this is going to be a multi-year process, and I think we just want Dottie to start doing this. And you know, low carbon concrete is going to be coming online across the country in the next decade, and we just want Dottie to be ahead of the game here in doing the most that they can to prevent carbon emissions from this concrete that's going in.
Yeah, I think that's great, Keith. Thanks again for bringing that up. Deb, did you have
Deb
something?
has a question.
I'm wondering, what do they do? Yeah, what are they gonna do with all the concrete that they're removing to make the sidewalks in the entire city of Denver? Does anybody know?
I think the first thing is the program is largely about filling in the gaps. So I think it's going to be putting in more, the aim of the program is to build out the sidewalk network within 9 years first, right? So I think that's number one, is places like 26th Avenue, Sheridan Boulevard, and multiple places, is to put in new sidewalk there. And I think Keith's idea is a great one, to look into more sustainable concrete technologies, not only in sidewalks, but I think we should be looking into our roads too, which is a much larger, you know, paving budget, right? But I think, I don't know where they're going to remove and take them to. That's a great question, Deb. I think we're still on. Go ahead, Keith.
Sorry, Alan. Just there are processes that are starting to come online now too to recycle concrete and use it, being able to use part of it at least again in new concrete production.
There you go. That's a good answer. I like that one.
Well, they managed to find a home for all of the concrete on the runways of the old Stapleton Airport. For many years, there were huge piles of it, but they crushed it and used it as aggregate base. And some of it went back into new concrete as aggregate. So
Yes.
it's better than landfill by a long shot. And Keith, now that you're on here, you were going to give us an update on Denver INC, Inter-Neighborhood Cooperation. And as president, you know what's going on.
Thanks, Tom. And I'm gonna share my screen here real quick. I just wanted to give, so the, can everybody see this? My
Yeah.
screen?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So, a couple of things, just, you know, the Inter-Neighborhood Cooperation is a kind of an umbrella organization for all the neighborhood groups around Denver. We provide programming, education, and advocacy for different neighborhoods. We just had a great awards dinner a few weeks ago where we recognized different neighborhood leaders around the city and different projects that people have done. We actually just recognized the West Area Plan and the neighborhoods of the West Side, Valverde, Sun Valley. I'm blanking on the other three neighborhoods. Barnum, and all the work that they did on the West Area Plan, which is really incredible. And so I think it's definitely worth a read to look through, even though it's a kind of a long document. But I did want to make sure to mention we do programming every month. Everybody's welcome. I wanted to highlight the fact that in November we're going to do a special program on you know, the Denver Public School District just passed a climate action plan last year. One of the first in the nation for a large urban city school district. So it's pretty exciting. Kamala Harris came here. She recognized the district. She recognized the students of the Denver Climate Action Group that advocated and got this policy passed. And we're going to be learning about the policy and then also, you know, celebrating with the students and whatnot. This is going to be over on the Lowry campus, so pretty much the opposite side of town from us. But if anybody's available and would like to, you know, come for the morning, and it's really going to be a great event. The mayor is either going to come in person or he's going to be speak to us over Zoom and introduce himself to neighborhoods and whatnot. So it should be a really great event. And I just wanted to kind of let everybody know about that and invite everybody, answer any questions too, if you have any. With that, I will stop sharing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Sounds like an interesting meeting out there, but it is a little bit of a hike to get there. Unless it's Saturday morning, traffic shouldn't be
Yeah,
too bad.
yeah, right. We will be on the town.
Okay, the next is self-serving. If you could show slides 15, 16, and 17, Alan. Okay, this is about a pumpkin patch at Alameda and Garrison, and it's a fundraiser for Habitat for Humanity. These are pictures taken this year. You can see a picture on the left. We've got many pumpkins available. This is our 24th year for the pumpkin patch. Linda and I both came straight from that time for the meeting today. What's seen on the left is the contents of a 52-foot semi-trailer, about 43,000 pounds of pumpkins that we have for sale. It's open every day from 10 in the morning till 6 at night through Halloween. The one on the right you can see, it says Habitat for Humanity turning pumpkins into the houses. This is our 4th year, and we have sponsored 23 homes through Habitat Metro Denver in the metro area here through the past years. And it's a very wonderful, in my estimation as chairman of the group, a very wonderful endeavor. The pumpkins are grown on the Navajo reservation in Farmington, New Mexico, and we get them on consignment, and 60% of our gross sales go back to the Navajo Nation who grow them, and 40% go to Habitat Metro Denver for our home sponsorship last year with the pumpkin patch and other fundraisers. Our group, Jeffco Interfaith Partners, was able to present Habitat Metro Denver with a check for $70,000. So come here and buy your pumpkins. They're a little bit more expensive than Walmart, but it's for a wonderful cause.
Really good pumpkins.
And we got one more slide. It came from Sloan's Lake. We have made up in time for the jamming on the jetty. We have t-shirts with that image on it, and they're available for sale. So contact me and they come in large and extra large adult and large, medium and large youth sizes. So it would be a wonderful Christmas gift for grandchildren or anyway, thank you very much. And our next meeting is Wednesday, November 8th.